Hey, welcome to Kirby Connect. We're glad that you are here today. In the room, we have Clayton, executive producer. He got a promotion. Executive promotion. Emery.
How do we get promotions, Emery?
I don't know. I guess we just model Clayton's behavior.
Have wisdom. Hey guys, comes from reading Proverbs.
Good job,
there
Clayton.
You go.
Good job.
And as you hear, Don is in the house as well. And so we're glad to have you join us. Want to encourage you to keep reading. You have now kind of coming up on that stretch where you are wrapping up Exodus and heading into... I wish we had a little Star Wars music here, you know, when Darth Vader comes in with that ominous tones. Yeah, something like that. That's not very ominous, but you got the idea.
That was Clayton.
That was Clayton. We're heading into Leviticus. And so Emery's going to encourage you. I just want to encourage you, man, just keep plowing through different culture, different time, different way of doing things, but it's still a message and still one focus, and Emery will talk to you about that. So guys, hey, listen, we are coming up on the end of February, so everybody's starting to think about vacations, and so vacations are a great thing. And Don, did you enjoy your vacation, buddy?
It was wonderful.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Amy had won a trip with her little nails 2 years ago, and then COVID hit, and we never got to go on it. And they gave us an ultimatum that said, if you don't go by June of 2022, you will lose your prepaid trip.
Now what he's doing is he's trying to set up a little empathy right here with that. They set us an ultimatum. We were here in the cold.
No.
They're in Mexico in the warm.
He told me it was in Toledo.
Yeah. Emery, tell us where you were at last week.
Glass
You were in
City. I was actually in Columbus.
In Columbus.
There you go.
It's,
Yeah.
you know, Columbus, Cancun.
Same. They both
starts with a C.
It does.
Starts with a C. But here's the question. If you could vacation anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? And one sentence why you would want to go there.
Got it.
Okay? Emery, we'll start with you.
I am really boring.
Sorry, rascal.
I'm really boring and really an American tourist.
Okay.
I love the beach that is just south of Daytona Beach. It's called New Smyrna Beach.
I've been there.
In Florida. It's kind of Daytona Beach without booze and cars.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite places.
By the way, he did say without booze and cars. Without is what he
Daytona
said.
is with booze.
Can you drive on those booze? No, I did not say it.
If I were to drink,
drive on that
beach. Drive on that beach. I need a vacation.
Just a little clarity. I don't drink.
No, we know that. We know that. Moving on to Clayton. Where would you?
Oh my word!
I might just stay here.
It's safer.
It's safer.
I love beautiful Flat Rock, Michigan.
Yeah.
Good answer.
I would go to Maui.
Maui. Special place in his heart. You guys took your honeymoon there.
Honeymoon there, and my wife would love to go there again, so that would be my choice.
There we go.
place,
Where would you like to go?
Pastor Mike, favorite place to go for me out of anywhere is wherever my honey is.
Every guy listening to this just went,
wherever you are, Amy Jean, I want to be there, baby.
Wow.
Just that is
every guy is so disappointed.
That is the ultimate non-male part.
Oh, yeah.
You know what it sounds like? Somebody making up for a failed Valentine.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
For all these flowers and roses.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought we agreed to not use the podcast for relational credit.
All right. Well, guys, listen, we got to get going on our journey here through what's coming up this week. And so we're going to start with the Old Testament, wrapping up Exodus, and heading into Genesis, Leviticus. My phone went off, and it's not supposed to do that. So take it away. I don't work on my phone.
So, hey, we start in Exodus 34, and I got to give you kind of a little bit of backstory on that, because Moses is heading down the mountain for meeting with God with the stone tablets in his hand. But it's the second time that he's heading down with the stone tablets, because he went up the first time he was gone a little bit too long, and then Aaron and the people make a giant calf out of the fire. And I love what Aaron said.
Oh.
Like, we just threw our jewelry in there, and out came the calf. And like 2 verses later, it uses the words fashioned and, built and constructed. But he's like, it just popped out of the fire at me.
And then Aaron becomes the first high priest of Israel.
Yep. So Moses had to go back up again.
God
but he comes
uses
back
all
down.
people.
He does. And
Yes, he
second
does.
chances and 70-second chances.
Yep.
But he comes down and his face is glowing and everybody's kind of freaking out. They're like, okay, don't come too close to us. But his face is glowing because he was in the presence of God. So he ends up putting this veil on when he's around the people, but lifting it when he's in the presence of God. And there's this awesome correlation to that in 2 Corinthians, where it says this: so all of us who have the veil removed can see the reflection of the glory of God. And what we're going to read in the end of Exodus and in Leviticus, as you kind of, for no better way to say it, slog through some pretty dry passages. Slog is the word for it. I want you to keep that in mind, that all of this that you're reading here echoes what is in the New Testament, and that it's all about what has to be done for a sinful people to be in the presence of God. So that's basically what's going on here, especially as you get into, like, you make a right turn into Leviticus, and like the second you get there, it's like
Slogging.
Hey, time to talk about all these different offerings that we're going to give to make up for the fact that we're not perfect, that we're not holy. And Leviticus is about the holiness of God as you walk through it, and you look at like all these minute instructions. You remember that like God is so holy and so powerful that being in his presence is a tricky thing. It's why all this exists. It made me think of this. It made me think of Fermi down the road. If you were in Fermi, you wouldn't just walk into Fermi and say, I just want to go stare in the reactor core. If you get anywhere in that building, there's a big logbook of rules and everything that you have to do because you were in the presence of something powerful.
Yeah.
So here,
That's real good.
they're in the presence of the most powerful and the most pure, holy, set apart, other than all of us, God himself.
For just a second, let's hang out with that word holy.
Yeah.
Because Leviticus is all about the holiness of God. And somehow in our culture, saying God is holy is almost equivalent to saying that God is harsh or God is mean. And that's not what Leviticus is saying at all. Your Fermi illustration was spot on, telling us that. But God's holiness is this big, jump in here anytime, it's this all-inclusive term that binds his love and his grace and his mercy, being the God of the second chance. And you could go back to the high priest every year and make it right. Yeah,
and one of the definitions of holiness is completely other. And there's a bigger, more encompassing way to look at that. He's actually completely other in ways that we don't think. He's other than us. He's completely set apart and other than us in that, like, he doesn't just go after people that deserve it with revenge. We want to, he's always looking to reestablish a relationship. That is completely other than how human beings act with human beings. Mm-hmm. But that he is set apart, that he is completely other, and there's the thought that it carries with it of just 100% purity, which determines all the things. To be in the presence of something so pure, there have to be these things, and it's a foreshadow that the system of sacrifices and everything that sin has to be atoned for because God is holy. It's one story. That's why Jesus went to the cross. That's why this is in place at this time as a foreshadowing and a temporary measure as we look forward to what Jesus would do.
And Jesus was the ultimate high priest, but he was also the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
So as you read through Leviticus, keep that in mind. Great stuff. Let's go to the New Testament with our New Testament scholar.
That's solid, Emery.
Who kisses up to his wife. And,
yes. But moving all the way from there in holiness to Jesus on the cross, that's exactly where we're at in Matthew 27, 15 through Mark 3, verse 30 this week. Last 2 chapters of Matthew, first 3 chapters of Mark. I've heard it said, and these are some of our main players in these 2 chapters of Matthew here, that Judas caused the cross, Barabbas escaped the cross, and Simon carried the cross. And I think like Judas, our sins have caused the cross. Like Barabbas, we have escaped through Jesus. We have escaped the punishment of the cross. And like Simon, we all have a cross to carry. And so that was just something that I had heard and read as I studied. And it was powerful because we're trying to wrap all this together. Pastor, tell us a little bit about what you were talking about just before we started about what Jesus endured in those last 2 chapters of Matthew that you shared with us.
Yeah, if you look at it, and I can remember as a young man just reading the Bible, looking, trying to study and preach, and man, things are just jumping out at me, and I've lost my page where I had that. And so give me just a second to get back there. But these are everything that happened to Jesus when that the Sadducees oversaw doing to him. And he was flogged, stripped. They put on a scarlet robe. Hang on to that thought. They crowned him with thorns, big thorn, almost like nail-type links. They gave him a reed, which is basically an ugly... you know what a reed is, and to mock him. They knelt down, mocked him, they taunted him, they spit on him, they grabbed the reed and then beat him. They took off his robe, and by this time, by the beating of the cat of 9 tails and the flogging, the blood had coagulated in the cloth of the robe, and you can just imagine like a big long Band-Aid it being ripped off, put on his other clothes that he had, and then they led him away to be crucified. And the amazing thing to me is, as I read through this, at any point in time, Jesus could have just, not in anger, not in malice, not in contempt, just with a very pure, rational heart, he could have said, stop.
Yeah. Yes.
And the whole world and everything would have just stopped. And he could have said, my Father in heaven, they're not worth it. And he would have been absolutely right.
Yeah.
But as Don was talking about, the love of God, the holiness of God compelled him to the cross. Judas didn't kill him. Pilate didn't kill him. The Jews didn't kill him. Jesus said, no man can take my life except I lay it down. And that's all driven by love.
Absolutely. From last week's reading in the New Testament, Matthew 26, verse 52, we talked about this before we even started. Don't you realize Jesus says that I could ask my Father for thousands of angels to protect us whenever he's there in the garden, getting ready, being betrayed by Judas and being ready to be taken into captive and tried to protect us, and he would send them instantly, thousands of angels. But Jesus, he laid his life down for us. Well, you'll walk through Matthew 27 with the crucifixion, as Pastor pointed out, and then Jesus' resurrection. Jesus, because of his power over death, hell, and the grave, there's a liberating power that we can experience in our lives today. And here's what happens. When they come in Matthew 28 to Jesus, the women ran quickly from the tomb, and as they went, Jesus met them and greeted them, and they ran to him, grasped his feet, and worshiped him. First thing they did. I mean, I can imagine they've got a million questions run through their mind. How, why, what, and the first thing they did was worship him. The 11 disciples then in verse 17, Matthew 28, 17, the 11 disciples left for Galilee, and when they saw him, they worshiped him. So it was the very first response to worship the risen Christ. So we're going to end there, and then because of time, I've got to keep flying, so I got to transition into Mark. Matthew starts off, and everything was about Jesus as Messiah. The audience were the Jews, and so it started with the genealogy of why Jesus was in the line of David. But in Mark, the audience is written to Roman Christians, and so instead of starting with the birth of Jesus, in the country of Rome at this time, when a Roman official would go out, they would send a heralder before him. and a messenger, someone to go before and herald the entrance. I don't know if you've ever watched any. We were laughing earlier, Clayton and I, at the movie The Knight's Tale, and then it's just got a very comedic part where there's a heralder, and he's just talking about all, who this gentleman is and what all his accolades were that he came into this place. But a heralder goes before and gives validity of the importance to who is about to enter the scene, and John the Baptist is the one who prepares the way, who makes the way. In the book of Mark, we find only 31 verses in the book of Mark that aren't repeated in one of the other gospels. There's a lot of overlap, but it's a highlight reel, as Pastor was talking to us about that earlier. It's a highlight reel. It's the shortest gospel with the most events, and it records more miracles than any other gospel. And so I would just like to, the theme is that Jesus Christ alone is the Son of God. Jesus Christ alone is the Son of God. And this was spoken to a Roman culture that believed in many, many, many gods. And in Mark, you're going to have miracle after miracle after miracle, not what Jesus teaches, but what he does more so, and what he accomplishes that validates that he is God's Son. There's a couple of verses in Mark 1:24 where evil spirits even confirm that Jesus is the Son of God, the Holy One. In Mark chapter 3 and verse 11 that you're going to read this week, when demons even themselves shriek, "You are the Son of God." At the baptism, when Jesus is being baptized by John the Baptist, and it says, "You are my Son." So this week, just pay close attention for that Jesus truly is God's Son.
And then I love the way that you wove in John the Baptist is the heralder, and we're the heralds, the heralders today, right? When you wrap up Matthew, right? All authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go into all the world, make disciples, be the herald. What do you tell them?
Yeah.
What you just said. I'm the Son of God. You tell them your story. The difference Jesus has made in your life, how he was the God of the second chance, how you found him not to be, harsh, but loving and holy and gracious and sweet. And we're the Herods, not King Herod, the heralders today. And so let's all fulfill that great commission. What a tie together. All right, quickly going to the wisdom.
Yes. So in Psalms, we're in Psalms 33, verse 12 through chapter 37, verse 11. We see a couple different types of Psalms this week. Chapter 33 is a psalm of praise, and you'll read about putting our hope in our Lord. Now He is over all. He's our rescuer. Psalm 34, we have a psalm of thanksgiving, giving praise to Him, giving credit to Him. Psalm 35, I think these are some of the tougher ones, these psalms of lament. Had questions about how we read through them, what that looks like, and just some of the confusion there. But one of the things I really love about the Psalms of Lament is David almost gives us permission, I feel like, to be real with God. You see how he speaks with God.
It's raw.
Yeah, it's raw. You can tell there's emotion in it. There's this feeling in it. It's not, I have to make sure I say the perfectly right thing and make sure I do all. No, he is being very real.
Like I read a book on Psalms one time, and it says that the prayers of laments are unsanitized. They are just raw emotions. He says, "I hate my enemies." We would go, "God bless them." Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and so from that, you see him, pushing us to rely on the Lord, be honest with the Lord, and ultimately seeking the Lord in our need, in our struggle, in our brokenness. And then the final two chapters of Psalms we'll be reading are Psalms of wisdom. And I love that chapter 37, what it pushes us to do, it being a psalm of wisdom, this is what it instructs us. The wisdom it gives us is to trust in the Lord, commit our way to the Lord, be silent and wait expectantly on Him. That's great wisdom for us each and every day as we start our day and as we spend time to do that. Then we get into Proverbs, all of chapter 9, and then a little bit of chapter 10. And we've been looking in Proverbs and seeing this idea of wisdom versus wickedness, or the wicked woman, and now it kind of changes a little bit to wisdom versus foolishness, and what comes from each of those. And even as believers, how do we interact with people who are wise, and how do we interact with people who are foolish, and what's worthwhile in our response, and what will have benefit and won't what won't have benefit, and ultimately tells us about a place, Sheol, and talks about how our foolishness, our wickedness leads to that, and that being a realm of death, or what we refer to today as hell. Chapter 10 goes on to the same thing, talking about wisdom versus folly or foolishness there. And one of my favorite parts of this week's reading is from chapter 9, verse 6. It says this, it says, "Leave inexperience behind, and you will live. Pursue the way of understanding." For me, that's super encouraging, because we may come to a place where we feel like, man, I feel like I've lived foolishly. I feel like I live life not seeking wisdom, not seeking understanding, not fearing the Lord. What do? And it's very clear there at the very beginning of chapter 9. It says wisdom is calling out, saying, "Come to me. Come be in my house. Come partake." Even verse 6 there is saying we have the choice to leave inexperience behind, leave foolishness behind, and to pursue wisdom, pursue understanding. So, and that can take place for us at any time we choose to make that decision.
Great stuff. So as you read today, just kind of as you read the whole, just be reminded that Emery is telling us to look forward to the holiness of God, His grandeur, His love, that we're to be heralds of that, heralders of that, and as heralders of it, we're to tell everybody that He's the Son of God. And today, if you've not made the choice to ask Jesus in your heart, man, if you just reach out to any one of us, it would be the highlight of our day to respond to you. And so we're thank you for listening. Current event-wise, what's going on in our world will still be going on when you hear this. Please pray for our Christian brothers and sisters in the Ukraine and surrounding countries. And let's pray that God just really does something unique and awesome, and God grants them wisdom as they navigate these very difficult days. We love you. God bless you. We will look for you Sunday morning. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be great.